Buenas
Buenas
noches.
noches.
Buenas noches, everyone. Great to
Hola,
see
hola.
you. We would love to see you. Turn on your cameras, por favor.
Esteban.
All right.
Excelente.
Excelente.
Rubio, Susan.
Perfect.
Buenas noches, Mariah, Andrew.
Muy
Excelente.
bien. Linda, Heidi, Sydney, Esteban. All right. Muy
Ellen.
bien.
Buenas noches,
Bienvenidos.
Sophie.
Welcome esta noche. All right. It is
Bien.
great to see y'all. Thanks for joining us tonight. We've got, this is the first of our three meetings. And so the goal of these meetings is to get to know each other and to all get on the same page as we're planning and preparing for the trip so that we can have a wonderful experience together.
Yeah, I'm Leslie Foster.
Rory Foster, nice to meet y'all.
And we are excited to travel with you. We also want to introduce you to Dr. Lowenstein Esteban, who will be traveling
Yep.
with your, what are your dates? You want to introduce yourself?
I could probably do that. My name is Steve Lowenstein. I'm a faculty member in the Department of Emergency Medicine and Department of Medicine and Associate Dean at the University of Colorado School of Medicine. And I've been working with Leslie and Rory and with Common Ground International for many years, taking classes and organizing elective courses and learning Spanish and helping to support this medical Spanish immersion program in Costa Rica. And I'm very excited to work with all of you, to learn from all of you in February. I'll be there for the 12th, the 10th to the 24th. So those 2 weeks, basically. So thank you all for being here.
Gracias,
Awesome.
Esteban.
All right. And I'm Leslie, and I'll be with you on program for the first 10 days of the program.
Yeah, so that'll be starting January 27th.
January 27th to the 3rd or 4th. No, longer. I can't remember the
It's like the
dates.
6th, I think.
The 6th of February. And then Rory comes in.
Yep, I'll be in on the 3rd of February for a couple of weeks with y'all. So
all right, but
yeah.
Rory and I are deep in the details of planning with all our partners and host families and language classes and everything. So we are so excited to begin this meeting with you guys. If you can find the chat box, we want to know where you're logging in from. Tell us your name, where you're logging in from, and what you do.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Excelente.
Can we add one more thing?
Yeah.
How many weeks are you traveling? Yeah, so your name, what you do, where you're logging in from, and how many weeks will you be with us in Costa Rica this summer or this winter? Summer. I wish it was summer. It's so dark out and it's so early. Oh, okay.
All right. Chris, excelente. Rob, 2 semanas. Darcy, I need to get your dates. I have a note about you. Excelente. 2 weeks in Costa Rica. I need your dates. That would be great.
All right. Excellent. If you're just joining, we are putting our names and where you're from, how many weeks you'll be traveling, and what you do in the chat box. We can get to know each other a little bit.
Joey, good to see you again.
5 semanas.
Hello, how are you?
Muy bien. Pura vida.
All right. Ryan, welcome.
Ryan.
Andrew, welcome.
Ryan, I just
Susana.
saw the registration form come in today. That's excelente. Muy bien.
Mariah, Laura. Okay.
All right. Well, we are so excited to travel with you guys. Another question. If you've been to Costa Rica before, put a number 1 in the chat box. If you've never been to Costa Rica, numero 2.
Uno if you have, dos if you haven't. All right. So we've got some noobs and then some people with some experiencia in Costa Rica. Excellent. Costa Rica's the first time for a lot of folks.
Yeah. Okay. If you know the currency in Costa Rica without Googling, without using your devices, what is the currency in Costa Rica? You could go ahead and drop it in the chat if you know it. Ah, Joey.
Joey. All right. You got it.
Okay. Colones.
Colones.
With
now the real question is how many colones to the dollar, folks?
Yeah. What's the exchange rate in Costa Rica?
Joey's on it. I actually haven't checked it recently, but it usually varies between 500 and 600, somewhere in there, colones to the dollar. And so if you need easy math like me, a language person, just think that, $1 is 500, $2 is 1,000, so 1,000 is 2. That's the way I go. All right.
Here's a true and false for you guys. Cierto or falso. You can put it in Espanol, English in the chat. pueden tomar el agua en Costa Rica? Can you drink the water in
Ooh,
Costa Rica?
true or
¿Cierto o falso?
false? I suppose, can you drink it without problems
Yeah.
is the right question.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
you could drink it in Mexico. In fact, I did it once.
yeah. No bueno, no
No
bueno.
bueno.
Okay.
Okay, the answer is yes.
Yes.
C, the water is totally
You can
potable.
fill
Yeah.
your water bottles right from the tap in
Yeah.
Costa Rica. So that's a really great thing, which also means a fruit and vegetable salads, fresh produce, excelente.
That's right. I was just on a call with someone today about, can I eat fresh vegetables in Costa Rica? Yes, please do. They're awesome. You can wash them right in the tap. Not a problem.
Okay, two more questions.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, number 3. Put a number 3 in the chat if you have seen an oso perezoso or
Es un oso perezoso.
a sloth before, okay? And if you haven't seen an oso perezoso, número 4 in el chat. So 3 if you've seen one, 4.
If you haven't.
Okay,
Ooh, all
all
right, all right. We're gonna have to have some oso perezoso sightings.
You're in for a treat. Okay. One more question. What are your top of the mind questions? Okay. Be sure to put in the
Yeah.
chat right now. We're going to go through some information tonight, but we want to be sure that we answer your questions as we're going through the information. So if you have questions right now, you can put in the chat and let's get started.
Let's do it. All right.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and do my share screen and all that.
All right. Well, Rory's getting his screen set up. Where we're going, our mapa esta noche is we're going to start with the introductions, which you did a little bit, and then talk about entry requirements into Costa Rica. Program, you're going to see who you're going to be traveling with, program participants. We're going to define a little bit what immersion means because there's various definitions. We make sure you guys are ready, mentally prepared. Okay, we're going to talk about a group commitment together, a general schedule, and pretty soon, the next couple of weeks, I'm going to share with you our detailed day-to-day schedule, just defining some more details right now, and then going over a preview of our volunteer work and what we'll be doing, optional excursions, and next steps. So that's where we're going.
All right, perfect. First of all, you need to talk about this slide here.
Okay. Well, and Dr. Lowenstein also needs to talk about this slide. This is, there's a really great running route that we've been on in Costa Rica that has all these like amazing, encouraging, ponderous quotes as you're going. Ponderous. I don't know if that's a word. As you're running, okay? And so la pregunta más urgente en la vida es ¿qué estoy haciendo por los demás? By Martin Luther King. And it is a fantastic quote. If you know the general sentiment of it, put in the chat. Let us know. Let's see. Let me pull up my chat here.
Say it again.
Yeah, what does this mean? What is this quote saying? La pregunta más urgente en la vida es ¿qué estoy haciendo por los demás? All right, Carrie's got something. The most urgent question in life is ¿qué am I doing for others?
I love it. Okay,
Excellent.
that's
yeah, what do
Chris,
you? Oh,
too.
that was Chris. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the most important or urgent question is, what am I doing for others? And the fact that you have registered for this program means you're doing a lot because you are taking that next step in improving your Spanish. For many of you to improve patient outcomes, to improve communication in your areas of work or where you volunteer, or who you live with also.
So it means a lot, you know, your investment of time, energy into this kind of program really does and can have a connection back to your local community. And that's what we're hoping for. So, okay, a couple of quick logistics as we get started with the meeting. So let's speak Spanish, English, Spanglish, whatever, doesn't matter. Let's just participate, please. When you're not speaking, mute yourself. Most people are already. When you do, let us know who's talking so we can follow the conversation, por favor. And let's be sure to use the chat box so that we can get those questions recorded and be interacting as well. Okay,
Oh, wait, one
Yeah.
question. Chris is asking, am I in the right meeting? This seems to be for medical immersion. You're in the right meeting. If you're traveling this winter with us, there's medical, there's general adults,
yep,
and some teachers that are not teaching at that time. So,
that's right.
yep.
So yes, Chris, you're in the right spot. Okay, Leslie went over this briefly a little bit, but here's what we're up to tonight.
I went over it
Introductions.
all.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can
So
go
everyone can
forward.
see it. All right, you just want to skip it. Okay,
Yeah.
perfecto. And we did
Okay.
this one too already.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, perfecto.
Well, I want to
Look
get
at that.
I want to get professions in the chat box. So if everyone can put, we heard where you're from. We have people from Miami and Oregon and Denver and California. I'm looking at the list right now, and Miami. And so, but what is your profesión? I
think-
saw
Yeah,
CPA.
we had a
I
good
saw
number. Yeah.
some physicians. I saw students, hospital doctor, and yep.
Oh, Molly.
You need to share the resource.
Oh yeah, guys, Doc Molly is joining us. She's got an amazing podcast and she's going to be with us for a week in Costa Rica this winter. And so if you haven't met her, you're in for a treat. And we're excited that she's joining us. And you should definitely check out her podcast, Doc Molly. It's a medical Spanish podcast. So be sure you find that and begin. If you are in healthcare, sorry, Chris, not for you, Chris. But if you're in healthcare, definitely find that podcast. It's awesome.
I love
Okay.
seeing this. Artista, I saw massage therapist, national policy work, and musician. So much variety on this
Yeah,
program.
awesome.
Excelente.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay, and we had some fruta tropical favorita. I saw a mango in there. I think I saw a mango in there.
Yeah.
Gracias, Laura. Anybody else favorite tropical fruits?
Papaya,
Joey.
Joey.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
with you on that one.
Pina. Oh man, I could eat pina till my tongue
Papaya
explodes.
can go either way. I found, like with our kids, they're like, ugh, they do not. They think it tastes like soap, like dish soap.
Yeah,
but I like
Yeah.
it.
I don't like it here in the States, but I definitely like it in the tropics.
Molly, papaya, también, pina. All right.
All right. So be sure to be dropping your questions in there, your urgent questions. We'll make sure we get to them at the end. We'll have some Q&A. Okay. All right. So travel health. The CDC in Costa Rica basically suggests that you have updated routine vaccinations, that like you've got your Hep A and Hep B up to date. And malaria is present in some provinces in Costa Rica, Alajuela, Limon. And if you're going to spend a bit of time on the Caribbean coast, you might consider medications. But in general, if you're good about bug spray, you're good about proper clothing, long sleeves and pants and things in dawn and dusk, then I think it's been over a decade that we've taken malaria medication for Costa Rica, right?
There was a small little outbreak last summer when we were there in the province of Limon, which is the purple area on the map. But that has since calmed down. There's known cases, but it's not a big outbreak right now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So there's no transmission in other parts of the country, like you were saying. And typhoid is recommended también.
And these are directly from the CDC Costa Rica page. So you can
Perfect.
look at that
Yep.
Costa Rica travel page.
All right. And of course, consult with your travel clinic and make a decision about what you want to do. Okay. So who are you traveling with? Who is traveling when? So here's what we have for week 1. And unfortunately, in week 2, they are not alphabetically ordered. This is a little al azar, which is how we say random in Spanish. So find your name. If you can't find your name in there and you're on one of these 2 weeks so far, make sure you let us know. You can let us know in the chat area, or if you're in the wrong spot on the wrong week. Darcy and Nikki,
Yeah.
Leslie had some questions for you. You can let us know in the chat area.
You're
if you
registered,
have
but
your
I don't have
dates.
your specific date.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that's what I need to know.
So that's weeks 1 and 2, and then weeks 3 through 6 of the program. Here, oops, I went too far. All right, I still went too far.
There we go.
I have trouble.
Stubby. it.
Okay, here we go. So weeks 3, 4, and 5 on the program. This is who we've got traveling. Again, if your name's not on there, but it should be, or it is and it shouldn't be, please let us know and we'll get that sorted out. This isn't the official list, but it would be good for us to know if we've got something wrong. Okay. All right. Very good. Moving on. So Leslie, you have a question for people about immersion. What is
Okay, the word immersion, if you're like me, I don't know if you're like me, but I think in pictures, I'm very visual.
Yeah.
Does an image pop into your mind? And if it does, put it in the chat, or maybe a descriptive adjective or one word. What pops into your mind?
They're coming in the chat.
Okay. What do we have here?
Okay, immersion blender. Okay.
Underwater.
24/7 underwater. All right.
All right, we're gonna do something fun right now. I'm going to put a code. If you can multitask, this would be a little test.
I think
A
I'm
little.
gonna stop sharing my screen so people have control
Okay.
of their
A
devices.
little technology test.
Uh-oh.
We're just gonna try it. If it doesn't work, it's a failure. That's okay. Okay, I'm putting a link in the chat, and you're gonna click on that link, and it's gonna pop. It's gonna take you to this question. What does immersion mean? Okay, see if you can answer the question, and your answers are gonna pop up on a word cloud right here. Let's see.
Maybe hold off on sharing your screen real quick so people can have control and get to the.
Let's see here. I'm gonna put the link in again. If it's too difficult, that's
we got one.
Surrounded.
Surrounded.
There we
Okay.
go.
Oh, here we go.
Intensivo.
Total intensivo, deep dive, loco, drowning, complete drowning. No. Underwater, mucho.
All encompassing.
Oh, look at this.
Loco.
Loco. Yeah. Non-stop. I like it. Intensivo, all day, sink or swim. Nice. Submerged, cultural.
When I asked this question to our group traveling last summer,
Yeah.
a popular one that came in was Bad Bunny.
Really?
Bad Bunny, like Spanish
Yeah.
rock, Bad Bunny.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds
Con
good.
familia. All right.
I
All
think
right.
Bad Bunny is Steve's favorite artist.
Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys got it. We are surrounded. I think of the image of water and being completely submerged. My kids like jumping cannonball style into a pool, and not one part of your body is dry. And that's what this is. You're going to be surrounded by the sights and the sounds and the food and the smells and the barking dogs and watching where you walk on the sidewalk and all of it. Okay. So, which also means that it can be a little bit exhausting.
Definitely exhausting. Yes, it is. It is intense. And it's something that it's all about expectations, right? You expect it's going to be hard. It's going to be intense. And yes, it will be, but you're not alone. You're not without support. And together we all work toward the same goals. But because we are together, we do have a potential danger, un peligro. And the way that we get around this danger is by a group commitment. So el peligro. Your biggest obstacle to really improving your Spanish by leaps and bounds while you're on a program like this, I wonder what you think it might be. In my experience, in our experience over the 20 plus years of working with people abroad, okay, Dorothy's onto something, Chris is onto something. Okay,
yeah.
all of you are sort of hitting at the same thing. Your biggest obstacle is you, whether you choose to default to English here and there, or whether you choose to, give in to some of the angst of, I'm not sure if I'm going to say it right, and so I'm just not going to try, that kind of thing. So really focusing on, okay, here's what I'm going to do. This is why I'm here. And this is how I'm going to day by day, step by step, continue working on my Spanish. So your own commitment to continuing to work on your Spanish day in and day out, even when you're tired, in spite of it all, is your best route. The other obstacle, the second biggest obstacle to amazing language growth, is the company you keep. All right. So you'll notice on program that some people are going to tend to speak a little more English than others. And that's okay. Everyone's in their own spot, on their own path, but you have the choice to sort of navigate and toward those folks that are using more and more Spanish, because that's what's going to push you. And as a group, our group commitment is that regardless of what level you're at, because people are traveling at all different levels of Spanish proficiency and Spanish ability, our group commitment is that I will always at least start in Spanish. And so maybe that means I can only get half a sentence out and then I got to toss in some Spanglish, or there's a word I'm hung up on, so I hit English and then I go right back to Spanish, that kind of thing. If we can all get into the discipline of at least starting in Spanish, all of us, all the time, that creates a great environment for everyone to be moving forward at the pace that they can, and really creates that immersive environment with a bunch of English speakers traveling together.
So, and this is a question in the chat or concern is, what are some barriers, concerns for beginner Spanish learners? Because we have all different levels on this program. There's definitely a handful of beginners up to advanced and anywhere in between. And so even as a beginner, you can at least start with yo, right?
Absolutely.
Yo hablo or yo necesito. And then you know, when you need to break into English to get your point across, then it happens. But to train your brain, okay, to start with Spanish is a good habit.
I think that to add to that, Ryan and all of you others that consider yourself true beginners with Spanish, the number one thing you can do is have realistic expectations. And so that, and don't play the comparison game at all. And that goes for everybody, the comparison game. But realistic expectations for a beginner is that, okay, yeah, I'm not going to be able to connect with my host family right away, just like the other person who I'm in this group doing a project with, who's an intermediate or an advanced level speaker. They're going to have a quicker connection. Or, you know, the day-to-day just logistics of ordering lunch is going to be a little harder and slower for me than it is for someone else. And so just taking that deep breath and allowing you to go through the process and not compare yourself to others, but stick to the commitment. Your learning curve is so steep as a beginner. And over the years, we have kicked around the question, gosh, should we really put a language minimum requirement for our programs? And we've always come back to the truth that no, because immersion done the right way with everyone with similar commitments and goals really is the best way to learn as much Spanish as possible, as fast as possible. And so there are other folks who have traveled as beginners, and as long as you keep your expectations realistic and stick to the commitments, you're going to have a wonderful, wonderful program.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. All right, so let's keep going. Speaking of the program, what is it like? What's kind of the daily schedule like?
Yeah,
So,
that was another question. So Monday through Friday is in the mornings, we have either our volunteer work or preparation for our volunteer work or some free time.
yeah.
And some optional excursions planned or some study time. And then lunch, we'll have some group lunches together. Then after people get a lay of the town and stuff, you can go out on your own or pack your own lunch or go on a walk during lunch. And then classes de español from 1 to 5 p.m.
Yep. And then in the evenings, you go back to your host family and continue that immersive setting.
Yeah, there are some optional activities after classes, a couple days a week, like a dancing class if you want to join us, and
Cooking classes.
Cooking class. Rory, are you going to do a dancing class? Por favor.
I probably, yeah. I mean, I
He
do
needs some
really
help.
love dancing.
All right.
Maybe we need a videographer for the dance classes.
You are always a videographer. That's his cop out. Okay, so that's kind of the general schedule. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, except for the first, there's 2 startup weekends, the 27th, which is a Saturday, and then the 3rd, I think, is a Saturday. That's right. And so arriving on those Saturdays, and then Sunday, that Sunday the 28th and Sunday the 4th are orientation days, doing a little walking tour of the community and things like that. Okay. But then after those weekends, we have some optional weekends that you are welcome to travel with us and go explore the volcanoes and the beaches of Costa Rica. And so all those details, the information is in your pre-departure course, and you just need to register by 15 de diciembre. December 15th, and there are limited spots in the hotels.
Yeah,
So just be
that'll
aware
come
of
up,
that.
that'll come
Yep.
up in a little bit. We'll share a little bit about those
Yep.
details. Okay. All right, great.
Yeah,
So,
if you are on, I'm answering the questions here. If you're on the Manuel Antonio and you missed the orientation, it's not a problem.
we got you.
We'll do it another time with you. Yep.
Absolutely. Okay. So some of the trabajo voluntario, the projects we'll be working on over the course of the weeks this winter, week 1, which is the week of 27, 28, like the 29th through that first week of February through like the 2nd. There's some basic orientation to SEDCUS.
I'm going to pause and
Yeah.
explain what SEDCUS is.
Good idea.
Okay, so SEDCUS is an organization that serves the precario or the shantytown of Guarani. It's one of their 8 large precario shantytowns in the San Jose area. And this is one of the largest. There's about 80,000 people that live in the shantytown. So it is below the poverty line. There are bajos recursos, low resource families, schools, clinics. SEDCUS serves that community in 2 ways, in healthcare and working with the kids in the community.
Yeah.
And so
And elderly.
3 ways. And so they have been involved, they've been established since 85 or 82,
Something
I
like
think,
that,
1985 and
in the
1982.
80s,
A long time. It's run by locals, local physicians, local teachers, local social workers. And we have the honor of just helping them with whatever they need. And so here is what we're going to do. Here's what they need. The first week is an orientation to SEDCUS. We're going to go do a site visit, learn more about what they do, all their different services. And they have asked if we can prepare canastas básicas. You want to explain what a canasta básica is?
Sure. Canasta básica is like, think of like a basket of staples for a family of like 4. And so that'll include some black beans, rice, oil, salt, some pastas, and some cleaning solutions. So basics for just living, basic food help, basically, is what canastas básicas are. And so the value of them is approximately $40 or so.
It's gone up a little bit the
Yeah.
past couple of years.
Okay, so maybe up a little from there.
Yep.
But we will spend some time in that first week. Everyone who wants to, it's not obligatory. Or if you want to create like a little group of 2 or something and pitch in and get a canasta together, we'll put together as many of those canastas as possible and deliver them so that SEDCUS, the organization, can hand those out as needs arise for food help throughout the weeks this winter.
Yep. Yep.
All right, week 2 is we'll be back at SEDCUS. The medical group is going to be working on vital signs and talking through some efectos secundarios de medicinas comunes, and we're still defining which of the meds that they're seeing some questions and problems with. But these are topics for the healthcare group that's on program. These are topics that SEDCUS has requested that we address.
And if you're not in healthcare, then there are general adult program and familias, and we have some teachers in there. You're going to be working with the kids in the SEDCUS community. They're called Semillas de Amor, Seeds of Love. They sponsor 100 kids within the community. And throughout the years, actually, when they enter, whether they're kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade, they make sure that they graduate through high school. And so they give them tutoring services, uniforms, that kind of stuff. But we have been asked to do activities with the kids because they in Costa Rica during that time of year, they are on break or half day of school. So we'll be working with the kids doing activities, and there's more details in the volunteer lesson about the projects that we'll be doing.
Got it. And then in week 3, more of the same. So weeks 2 and 3 look very similar on a volunteer level. And then week 4, we're going to be working with some elderly adults. And I don't think that do we have a topic defined yet for that week 4?
They're still researching.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So we'll have an activity that everyone who's around in week 4 will participate in with those adultos mayores. It's a fun group to be a part of. So you'll want to watch the volunteer lesson in your pre-departure course to get some further detail on these topics.
Yeah, and this is just a preview. Our next meeting in December will go into more details, but I will say for those, for the Grupo de Medicina, when you log into your pre-departure course and go to the volunteer lesson, there are some Spanish lessons that Rory has taught on side effects and signos vitales in Spanish, so you can brush up your vocabulary on that.
Yep.
And then for the actividades para niños, our general and familias, if you, like I saw, there's an artist, there is CPA, all the different professions. If there is something that you want to teach kids, maybe a passion or a hobby or something that you love to do, I would love to help you put together a lesson or a station and teach kids, and you'll do that in groups of 2. So on December 13th at our next meeting, we'll talk more about that, but there are more details in the lesson right now.
Yeah, so these are kids that are like elementary and middle school ages primarily. So for our CPA on the program, probably a profit and loss statement isn't going to be a good activity, but no,
adding
definitely,
math bingo.
definitely some help with math would be awesome. Okay. All right, great. Oh, and English is always something as well.
English.
That,
Yeah, art. They love art.
Yeah.
We've taught piano chords and
Yeah.
guitar and self-defense and yoga, lots of stuff.
Yep. Okay. Excursiones opcionales. So we've got a handful of things that you can join depending on your dates, and there's probably a likelihood that there'll be another Cafe Brett offered as
There
well.
is actually, it's on that
Yeah.
second Friday.
Yeah, it's on, well, it'd be the second Sunday, probably the 4th.
Yep.
Yeah. So these are the big ones toward the bottom there, the weekend trips. Those are the ones that won't be repeated. And then on the 17th, Isla Tortuga day trip. So there's a handful of things in the plans, in the works. And if none of this works out for you, or if you want to go do something on your own, then we are always more than happy to help you make sure you've got your transportation lined up and you've got good lodging options and activities and things. So we're happy to help you with other activities as well. Okay. All right.
And Rory, where can they find more information about this?
In the pre-departure course.
Yep. Perfect.
I'm glad I got that right. I was like, you put me on the spot. That was a test. All right. Okay. Let's continue. So coming soon in our next meeting, we are going to be sharing the super embarrassing, ever shameful lista de delincuentes, the list of delinquents, la lista de delincuentes. You can get on that list, and again, it's very shameful. You can get on that list
Off that list.
if you don't turn in your Spanish placement test. You can get on that list if you don't turn in your travel registration form, or if you don't return your travel contracts, liability forms, all that stuff. If you don't send in a copy of your passport and a copy of your flight itinerary. So the corollary opposite is also true. If you do have all those things turned in, then you will not be on that extremely shameful lista de delincuentes.
No, but in all seriousness, we need your Spanish
Wait, I
placement.
was serious.
We need your Spanish placement test because we are reserving teachers right now.
That's
And
right.
we need to know how many levels of Spanish teachers we need.
Yeah.
For medical Spanish, for general Spanish, okay?
Yeah.
For some of the kids that are traveling on family immersion with us. We need your registration form because in there you tell us what allergies you might have or
Host
dietary
family needs.
restrictions,
Yeah.
host family needs. And we're already starting to make sure some of these families that can
It's a
cook,
matrix of who's available and who needs what kind of
who
family.
can prepare
Just-
gluten-free meals.
right.
We need to make sure that these families are available. So this is why we need registration form and your flight itinerary also, if you have that, because your host family is going to pick you up from the airport.
That's
and
right.
so they need to know when you're arriving. And those are the important things. to
Those are
get
the
done.
important things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you know the contracts, passports, all that, just get it all taken care of and get it in before the 15th, before our next meeting, which is it the 15th or 13th?
13.
It's the 13th. Okay.
Yep.
But we do have some action steps by the 15th, which is to complete all your paperwork, which is what we just kind of talked about, that lista de delincuentes. And then to be sure to work through your pre-departure course. And so not everyone has the same course. Healthcare folks have the medical one, general adults have the adult one, families have the family one, teachers the teacher one, etc. And the things that we are still working on and that we will be finalizing to share with you before our next meeting are things like the day-to-day trip itinerary, which we'll put together for you, and your host family assignments. That one will actually be in January when you get your host family assignments. You won't have that before the end of this year. Okay.
I just put a question in the chat. Have you seen your welcome page? On this welcome page with the link is where you will find the links to your pre-departure course, the links to the registration form, everything that you need. When we have the itinerary available, it'll be up here as well on the welcome page.
Molly asked a dumb question. It's not a
It's a
dumb
Spanish
question,
question.
Molly. Okay, it's in
Yep.
the pre-departure course. Yes.
Yes, it is.
Placement test is in the pre-departure course. And so, see, all right, great. And from that welcome page, that link that Leslie sent, you should be able to access directly your pre-departure course and then also see the placement tests and things like that, right? Is the placement test linked there?
I'm looking actually.
Maybe we need to link it if it's not, just to make it facile.
Yep.
All right, it's coming on that welcome page. We'll get it in there.
Okay.
Okay, great. Next meetings. Oh, it looks like Steve's waiting to go. Okay. All right. We already did the November 15th. December 13th is our next one. And then January 17th will be our final one. They will always be at this time. And so that you can plan on your Wednesdays, those days for our upcoming
The
meetings.
December 13th meeting will be focused more on our volunteer work, actually doing some more detailed planning and organization in groups on Zoom in
Yeah.
breakout rooms. So
Yeah.
that'll be an important one to join us on. And we're going to open it up for questions.
For questions.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So Ryan, is there any way for you to check? Yes, Ryan, I think I read your travel registration today or yesterday. But next week we will have Samantha is our assistant that
Mhm.
takes care of all of our paperwork. And she is preparing a Google sheet that we'll send out to everyone that will have if you've turned in. It's a public document. You can see if you've turned in your registration form, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And Chris had a good question, is planning on doing some pre-immersion learning before the 15th. Can she wait to take the placement? If you've got some scheduled classes and things that you're doing and you're really working on it, then I would say, yes, we'd like to make an exception for you to turn that in a little bit later. You know, one person here and there isn't going to tilt the scales on, you know, if we need 10 instructors or 20, you know what I mean? And so that's not that big of a deal. But if everyone waits till the last minute, we're going to have a hard time staffing all the classes. So in general, if you know that your Spanish today is pretty much the Spanish you're going to be traveling with, yeah, let's get that placement done. But like Chris, if you've got something planned that is intensive and you're really working on it so that you can build up some foundation, then yeah, go ahead and feel good about holding off. Okay. Okay, other questions? Let's see. Chris asks if these slides will be available afterward. Yes. So we're recording the meeting, and then also I'll send off the notes of the slides as well, or we'll link the notes to the slides in that welcome page. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Feel free to unmute yourself. We're a small group. Go ahead and speak your questions and we can take them.
I have a question for you all.
Okay.
Thinking about packing. What is the climate, the temperature like in February in
Ooh,
Costa Rica?
February climate in Costa
Anyone
Rica.
know?
80. 60 to 80.
Yeah, it's warm. So there's two estaciones, two seasons in Costa Rica, the wet season and the dry season.
Yep.
And February, March is right in the middle of the dry season. You will see some rain, especially if you travel into like the rainforest, cloud forest, and some of the excursions
Mhm.
with us. So you'll
Yeah.
want to pack a rain jacket for sure, but it'll be warm during the days.
And
Our-
cooler at night.
A little cooler at night. We are located in Santo Domingo de Heredia, which is at just like 40 minutes outside the capital city. And it's right around 4,000 feet, maybe
Yeah.
3,800 feet. So it's a little bit higher in the foothills, the mountains, and it's breezy.
Mhm.
And so in the days it'll be nice and warm. Night times it cools down. People are often surprised at night that they didn't bring warm enough, like sweatshirt and,
Yeah.
and things like that. Actually all the homes, they don't have heating or air conditioning. The homes in Santo Domingo, they're just open windows and fans. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But you won't need it really, air conditioning or heat. It's just real pleasant the whole time. So
And humid, still humid during the dry season. Yep.
Heidi, I might suggest that you redo the placement test if you don't mind. It would be worth getting that done. And but we should also double check for you, Heidi, because possibly you did the placement test for the class that you took, not necessarily the placement test for the immersion program. They are different tests. So we'll have to check on that and see if you've got your immersion placement test done. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yeah, Ellen.
Do they use mosquito nets for the bed? I heard
Not
that
so
they
much in Santo Domingo. It's not
It's
that
not
not
common
that
in
big
the
of a
host
deal.
families.
Yeah.
it's not, or in other words, do you need one?
No.
No.
You don't need one. Oh,
Mm-mm.
okay.
But
Another que-
I would bring some repellente, some bug repellent with you.
Absolutely, yeah.
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 So- Oh, and like, are we expected to like help in the kitchen? I'm hearing different things that Latino women don't really like you in their kitchen, and then, so how do we help out? Do we help out, or?
It's a good question. Each family is going to be different, right?
Okay.
Just like families here in the US. Where
Yeah.
do you like help in the kitchen?
Yes.
He does not like help in the kitchen.
I like to help in the kitchen.
So each family is going to be different. So when we give you your host family placement in the host family lesson, there's some good like questions to ask your host family. And so you can start with that, always asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we going, ¿debo hablar español o inglés? No sé.
Español, Molly.
Okay. Vamos a tener su número de WhatsApp de la familia para hablar con ellos antes. Okay.
Correcto. Sí, sí, sí. Ajá.
Sí.
Ajá.
Como 2 semanas antes, probablemente. So the question is, will you have your host family's WhatsApp contact info? Yes, and WhatsApp will be probably the most likely way that you'll communicate with your host family and with each other in the group. And so if you're not used to WhatsApp, please get it on your phone and get used to it because it is a common way to communicate. And you will likely have your host family placement like a couple weeks before you travel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And our third and final meeting will really be focused on the last minute packing, the questions to ask host families, all that stuff that comes at the very end. Dorothy's asking, ¿cuáles son las edades de los participantes? We have a wide range.
We have a wide range. We've got folks
In college.
in their 20s and up into their 60s and 70s. So
Yep.
big range of ages.
Can we do our own laundry in our host family's home? Yes. And your host family also will do your laundry once or twice a week, depending on the family schedule when they do laundry.
Yeah. So just coordinate that with your host mom. Yep. So Linda's got a question about COVID in there. Thankfully, COVID has really gotten under control and people feel kind of like past COVID in Costa Rica, a lot similar to the way a lot of folks feel here in the States. And so it's less of a, there are no requirements for
Linda,
entry,
did
things
you
like
have
that.
a specific, yeah, Costa Rica
what
dropped their
happens,
entry requirements. What was that?
So what happens if you should come down with COVID? Like I just had a friend who went to Spain on
Yeah.
a bike trip, and she got COVID while she was there. So what would happen if we were to come down with that? As far as going to the school and this, that, and the other, you know.
Good question. Yep.
Yep.
I'm gonna-
Yep. So as far as with the host family and stuff, that'll be a question, conversation that you have with your host family. It most likely the host family is going to want you to get into one of the local apartments that are available. And so we'll help you
We'll
make
help you
that,
coordinate that.
help you make that move. And, you know, as far as classes and things like that, I think that I don't
There-
have a perfect answer for you right now. I think it hasn't come up in the last year or so of travel.
Well, we'll follow it. There was one case we had last summer. We
Okay.
followed the Costa Rica guidelines at the time. So this past summer, it was a 3-day quarantine. And then masking for, I think, 10 days after that. So that is what the participant did. And that person in particular, the host family said you can stay in the home because they had a separate kind of bedroom off, separated from the house. And so that was a situation where the participant was able to stay in the home, masked, or stayed at home for 3 days quarantined, and then came back to activities masked. So we'll follow the local regulations at the time.
Okay. Yeah.
Sounds
Y
good.
las clases están al aire libre porque así se podría seguir participando sin
Por lo
mucho
general, hay mucho movimiento de aire. Hay
Mhm.
hay 4 paredes, pero hay mucho aire moviendo, siempre ventanas abiertas, etcétera. So
Mhm.
the question is, are the classes like open air? In general, I mean, there's typically 4 walls to the classrooms, but there's lots of air moving through. We're very well ventilated, and as Leslie was saying earlier, it's a breezy place. So, yeah, there's a lot more air movement than our sort of sealed indoors kinds of settings here in the States.
Mhm.
I have a question. Do they have Wi-Fi?
Yes,
The language school has Wi-Fi, and most of the host families have Wi-Fi as well.
most, like 99%. It's like a soft requirement for those families. Yeah.
What else I want to- Oh, you're saying typhoid. What is that, a shot or pills? How do you take care of typhoid? You had mentioned that
shot.
It's
I believe it's a shot. Yeah.
It's a
it's recommended on the CDC. You could read the recommendations on that.
Yeah. And talk with the travel clinic, Ellen, your travel doctor, to see what they suggest.
Okay.
Darcy, no, you won't need to tip your host families. The standard, however, is to bring them some kind of gift, and we can talk about host family gifts. I think that scheduled for our next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next 2 meetings will be all about volunteer and host family stuff. Ryan, I'm going to drop the link for the, let me open it up here, for the optional excursions. Give me a second. And when I drop this link,
That's outreach. That's not
Oops.
excursions.
when I drop this link, when you follow it, you'll have to log in to your course on our website, and then you'll be able to see it.
So Chris, your question about volunteer interests for the working with the children. Yes, there is a volunteer document where you'll be putting your ideas out about what kinds of activities you'll want to be doing with the children during that volunteering, and then we can help you get prepared, let you know what sorts of things you'll have no trouble finding and what sorts of things you might want to pack with you in order to make that happen.
I'm
that
actually
kind
going
of
to
thing.
share my screen right now and
Okay.
show you what this looks like as far as volunteer work. Okay, so when you log into your pre-departure course, you'll watch this intro video Rory and I recorded
That's a good thumbnail.
about had kids, okay? Yeah. We need to switch that thumbnail. I'm glad you got people laughing. And then there's another quick YouTube video that the SEDCUS organization shared with us to share with you, so you can see kind of what you're walking into. And then there's a summary of what we'll be doing. And then for the kids' activities, right here, teacher, family, adult participants, identify an activity, and you'll click this sign-up sheet. It'll take you to this sign-up sheet where you can sign up for an activity down here. And as we get more details, next week we have a meeting with the SEDCUS directors, and we'll get more details, and they'll continue to update all this
Yeah.
information in here. So same thing with the medical group. You can see vital signs right here and medication side effects. And then here are 2 lessons that you can click on and brush up how to take, basically not how to take, but in Spanish.
Yeah,
how to
how to
use-
talk through.
Yeah, how to talk through with your favorite teacher, Rory. And and then another one, side effects in Spanish. So when you log into here, you'll get more details. The things that are still pending, there's all the little details that are still pending, like healthcare group, will you need to wear white coats? We're not quite sure yet. We have a meeting next week.
Mhm.
And taking thermometers, what type of equipment or materials will we need to bring down?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then same thing with, I'm going to show you traveling on the weekends, optional activities. Here is that lesson. So you can see the dates for Cafe Brit. It gives a little explanation, and then register here. POAS volcano tour, register here, dates and registration. So that's where you can see all that information. So if you haven't logged into your pre-departure course, get in there, because there's a lot of information. There's packing lists in there. There's host family expectations. There's day-to-day schedules
Yep.
and stuff like that.
All right, other questions?
Making slime. The kids like slime stations, Chris. So if you want to do like slime or something like that, would be amazing. Rehab for women.
So
That's in
Susan,
Ecuador.
the rehab facility for women is one of our volunteer projects in Ecuador. And so there's not a women's rehab facility that we partner with in Costa Rica. Lo siento. All right, other questions?
Dorothy, I love it. English for Spanish speakers. Let's make that a station.
Perfect. Yes.
No, Chris, no hay un peligro de malaria in La Fortuna. Hay casos, but there hasn't been an outbreak.
Yeah.
But there's been some cases reported.
So for La Fortuna, for Manuel Antonio, I think that you can certainly get by very safely with long sleeves, long pants, and copious amounts of bug spray. If your travel doctor is uncomfortable with that, then go ahead and take the malaria pills, and then you won't have anything to worry about. But like I was saying earlier, for us, it's been probably at least a decade since we've taken any malaria prophylaxis for Costa Rica. All right. Rabies cases.
Malone, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, Steve, can you take the rabies cases question, please?
I don't know if this is the appropriate time. Maybe we'll discuss that at the next meeting. Just because it's late, but there is a story.
There is a story. It's not very, Steve might be the only one with a story
Yeah.
in all our years of traveling, so not very common.
There was no rabies, but the context was alarming, but there was no rabies.
And which prompted in the pre-departure course, there's a whole lesson about safety. And there's another sub lesson about dogs, street dogs in Costa Rica.
Stay away from the street.
Stay away
dogs.
from the street dogs is the lesson that was prompted by Steve's story.
That's right.
So
Oh, we're all hanging on. We're
Yeah.
on pins and needles waiting for our next meeting.
Right, I won't forget.
Okay.
Fortunately, you haven't asked me to share any of my most incredible Spanish language mistakes. Those
Oh,
could be
share.
Next meeting.
those could be next meeting too. Some in the clinical setting, some outside it. And I know Molly wants to hear those too, but it'll soon.
Embarazada. Yeah.
No, it was far beyond that one.
Far beyond that.
Do you want me to just tell you one?
Yes, yeah. let's
Okay,
end
so-
with one, and then wait, Steve will end with one, and the next meeting, be prepared to share your most embarrassing
Most embarrassing
language learning mistake, because we all have them. I'm gonna write it down so I remember. Okay, you're up.
So I was working in the emergency department, and there actually was a patient, se presentó con una herida sangrada. Anyway, it was a bleeding wound, and I wanted to say, quería aplicar un algodón. I wanted to apply some cotton. Instead, aplicar esta albóndiga. And that just didn't work well because I said I wanted to apply a meatball. And I really did mean cotton. And that's just one of many. Quería aplicar albóndiga. Anyway.
So meatballs are not indicated for bleeding cuts and lesions and things like
Right.
that.
Thanks for sharing that. We all have these funny stories, right? But you learned, I mean, you won't say albóndigas again.
No, albóndigas, not in that setting. There's other times.
That's a good one. All right, amigos. Well, hey, we are super excited to be traveling with you. And you likely have lots of questions, and maybe not right now, but they'll come up as you think of them. Feel free to shoot off some emails. We're glad to answer those for you and to stay in touch and make sure you've got the info that you need in order to have a great trip. So have everyone next week, Thanksgiving, have a wonderful time, however you're celebrating it. And we will see you next month.
En el hospital. Trabajando.
Sí, en diciembre. Ok,
Muy bien.
muchísimas gracias. Buenas noches.
Buenas noches, amigos.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego. Gracias.
Con
Gracias.
gusto. Chao. Hasta luego.
Hasta la próxima.
Hasta la próxima.
Adios.
Amigos.
Chao, chao.